Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 0 to 60. Today we're trying to sort out what the hell's going on with the Falcon. So yeah, in the title, that's not clickbait. That actually happened. This thing had a huge backfire and it would not run properly. And I'll put a clip, because it's done it 3 times now, I'll put a clip in of what happened. I don't know what it's doing.
I can smell gas pretty bad.
So yeah, basically we get a backfire and then it sounds like it's got no compression. Now the first time it did this, it had a massive backfire and it probably took 2 hours of messing around with it before it would run again. And I don't know what the hell's going on. If you can explain why a backfire would make it sound like the car then drops compression on the cylinder and basically won't run, please let me know below. But in this video, I want to basically just give the car a good mechanical check over. Not that I'm a mechanic, but basically have a look and see if I can see anything obviously wrong with it. When we were detailing the car, we noticed that one of the handbrake levers wasn't basically connected to the rear wheel cylinder anymore. We knew that the handbrake was going high in the car, but we assumed it was just an issue with a cable adjustment. It turns out it wasn't a cable adjustment, there was no handbrake connected on the right hand side. So I want to have a quick look at that, see if it's something we can put back together or if we're going to need to order parts, and then really just have a bit of a close look over the car and make sure there's nothing seriously wrong make sure there's nothing wrong with it that we can fix before we send it for the roadworthy. And now that it's clean and I'm spending more time around it, I think I can smell raw LPG. So I might try a bit of an old trick and just see if we can find any leaks while we're in there. All right, so let's get into the video. Now, although we did pressure wash this on Friday, but it's giving us a chance to make sure there's no actual current oil leaks anywhere. And to be fair, it was actually quite dry before. But yeah, just having a visual look around the engine bay, everything is actually in very, very good condition. The belt's not worn excessively. There's no power steering fluid leaks. There's no coolant leaks that are visible. I did just have a quick check in here the day that I picked up the car. We've got no milkiness in there, and the oil appears to be quite clean. The oil on the dipstick, which we'll just grab out now, is really quite fresh. That's definitely been changed semi-recently. As the owner did say, I can't remember if he said he had a service done, but he did say he spent some money on the brakes, which I'm guessing that whoever's done the work on the brakes hasn't put that handbrake lever back in properly. But yeah, basically everything in the engine bay that you can check looks fine. Doesn't appear to be any leaks. I've had it running. There's no funny noises. Happy with the engine bay. Moving around the car, I'm going to get it jacked up and we're going to check out what's going on with that brake. So, problem 2 we found with the Ute is the handbrake lever. Hopefully this part isn't knackered. Oh, you can see that, but yeah, the handbrake shoe's fallen out. Right, let's try and get that back in place. Okay, so I hope you can hear me and see what's going on here, but as you can see in that last video, we could see that this part of the handbrake, which is some sort of, I don't know what the proper name is, a lever, was basically hanging out. So whoever's done the brakes recently didn't refit them or reassemble them properly. And I've never worked on a Falcon handbrake before, so I had to basically take everything apart, including I used to call these wheel cylinders, and basically put it all back together properly. It looks like when they'd clipped this in, they just didn't lock it over the pin or rod or whatever you want to call it that sits in there. Yeah, so I basically just put it all back together properly, which was a bit of faffing about because I didn't know what I was doing, but now we have an actuating handbrake shoe. I'm going to fit the rotor up and just see if it needs any adjustment, but hopefully that should be good to go, and that is one of the mechanical problems fixed for no cost. Although I have now got a bit worried. I think they fitted, instead of, I think they fitted the brake pads wrong as well, so I'm going to have to take the other wheel off and just check what pads they put on the other side. We'll do that after this handbrake's definitely working properly. Alright, so this side's actually all good, everything is seated properly. They are not new pads on this side, but again, the rear rotors, there's not a huge contact patch, which is what concerned me with this side. And this side did have new pads, but whoever fitted them did not seat them properly. This inner pad was on a funny angle, and the anti-rattle spring was also not seated. But we have definitely, sorry about the lighting, we've definitely fixed the handbrake. That is now all functioning. It's actually on and locked, and yeah, that explains why we had a loose handbrake cable. So we'll get the wheel back on and get on to seeing if we can work out what's going on with the gas system. So as how things often go when you're reconditioning a car and just going over bits and pieces, while I had the wheels off, I figured I may as well paint the rear hubcaps. And the paint I'm going to use is a one-step silver texture metallic. The real reason I'm using it is because it was on sale. It was $2 a tin on clearance. However, the reason I like this sort of textured stuff, it looks sort of glossy when it's finished and it hides any imperfections in the plastic. So let's get on with putting a couple of coats of this onto the not so silver hubcaps. Another reason I really like this particular paint, it has all plastic adhesion and all that sort of stuff built into it, so you don't need, it's literally just a one-step paint. I'm sure it won't last forever, but for this purpose of keeping it looking tidy till we sell it, it's going to be perfect. I probably won't record the rest of the filming, but normally when I've used this stuff in the past, it's normally 2 or 3 coats, because as you can see it goes on quite thick, but you do need to give ample time between each coat to dry, just because it almost starts to wrinkle coat if you go too thick. Anyway, I'll get on with this and then you'll see me back at the car working out what's going on with that gas system. So that is the handbrake working, and yeah, it holds the car. You cannot drive or move when the handbrake is locked on, so that is a good, nice, easy fix. We also spray painted the hubcaps. The 2 rear ones were the worst. Again, I've used that really cheap Duplicolour paint. I will have to take these ones off and do those at some point, but it's definitely not a priority. Now, the gas system. Now, something that I heard about that might be a bit of a wives' tale, but back in the day, the old gas inspectors, or whatever they were, the gas inspection stations, they didn't have modern technology to sense for leaks, so they would literally just use soapy water to see if anything was weeping out. Now, I can clearly smell gas now, which is kind of concerning, but it might just be residue that sits in the intake. I don't know. So I'm just going to put some soapy water over everything and just see if I can see any bubbles or anything obvious. Looking at the gas system, it is obviously, these are just normal hose clamps and rubber hoses, which, I mean, they're coming up 10 years old, so there's a good chance that they're not seated or sealing like they would when they were brand new. So let's apply some soapy water to all the joins and just see if anything's obvious. I'm not expecting to see something, but for the sake of a few minutes and maybe getting something interesting on camera, I thought I might do it. And obviously the car is off at the moment, so if we've got a leak right now, it's a huge problem. But in 2 seconds I'll go and turn the ignition on and just see if we get any bubbles coming up. In fact, I might leave you guys watching from right. So that is the ignition on, which should prime the gas system, or just let a little bit of fuel go in the intake to help with starting. No obvious leaks. Which is a good thing. Okay, I might start the car up and just see. Okay, so we ran the car for a little bit, and yeah, it's definitely got a gas leak. You can see it bubbling out just there. So the old the old soapy water trick still works, but that does mean we have a fitting that needs to be replaced or possibly tightened, but that is not something I'm going to mess around with, but at least we know that this might be what's causing the hard starting problem. So, we found a leak. It's a bit annoying, but these things do happen with used cars and the joys of it all, although my mind is ticking over and thinking about the money this is going to cost. Normally I would try and fix anything DIY, but a gas system's not really something I want to play with, just in case we have a serious leak one day. Yeah, so that is going to have to go to the inspection station to be fixed and checked. And I reckon this is going to end up being a bit of a profit killer, because this vehicle, looking at its build date, it is 10 years and 1 month old. Now in Australia with these LPG systems, every 10 years you do have to get the gas tanks inspected. I haven't had that done in probably over 15 years when we used to have the car yard, and it used to cost $440 to have a tank inspection done. God knows what it costs now. Also having a look at these tanks, although they look like they're in perfect condition, there is 2 of them. So these have 2 gas tanks. I wonder if that means there's going to be 2 inspection fees. I'm dreading the thought. Okay, yeah, but aside from that, positives from what we've learned today. We did manage to fix the handbrake without spending any money. That is a win. And everything else looks really good. The tyres that were super slippery in that first test drive, they seem fine. And I think it might have just been because they were sitting. They're actually not very old. They're only just about 2 years old, the tyres. There's nothing wrong with the tyres. They're definitely roadworthy. All the suspension and ball joints look quite good. Yeah, no oil leaks, no power steering leaks, even underneath. Everything looks really clean, no corrosion. All the lights work. Yeah, all the things that I can check for the roadworthy do seem absolutely fine. It's just this gas certificate that's going to be a bit of a... Anyway, look, really appreciate you watching. If you've got some input on the running rough, and if the leak at that point of the... I keep calling them regulators, but they're not regulators. The gas thingy. If the leak at that point would cause it to have a rough start, I'll stop trying to fix this... this cold start issue. I'm hoping that's what it is. Like, obviously some of the gas is dissipating whilst it sits, and that's why it's hard to start when it's been sitting. Look, again, thank you very much for watching. I hope I didn't go on too much. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Any comments below? I love all the input that we can get, and we will catch you on the next one, guys. Thank you.